sultry season of snow and ice. Winter is finally starting to give way to spring. On this fine morning, just before making a cup of tea, I discovered a squirrel in a tree from my kitchen window. I decided right there and then I wasn't gonna let an opportunity meal go by. Alright, so I just got my rifle off the wall, and what I'm doing here is I'm just quickly getting ready, because I saw a squirrel in a tree. Alright, I have no idea if that squirrel's still there, but I'm gonna go investigate anyways. But I saw him on one of those trees, and I was just about to make myself a cup of tea. I spotted him, so let's try and get the squirrel. Okay, let's get the rifle. There we go. Already got ammo. Despite the time it took for me to get ready, the squirrel was still in relatively close proximity. Yep, that's him, alright. That's him. My eye on there. Although the squirrel was a little wary here and there, the squirrel was relatively calm considering my loud approach as I stalked in closer, which made it all the better when he stood still for me on a hollowed out dead tree. As the footage more than clearly illustrates, I didn't have a really good idea where the squirrel fell. Initially, I thought the squirrel fell off the log, but as it turns out, that wasn't the case. Oh, I got my rifle right there. Still don't know how I'm gonna get at the squirrel, so I shot him when he was up there. He must have fell into that trunk. I thought he would have fell down here. I was hoping he would fall backwards into here. I could hear like leaves rustling up. Didn't sound like he was trying to get away. It just sounded like classical headshot where they jump around and, you know, go all crazy after they've been shot in the head. So I'm gonna try and figure this out here. I think I'll use this log. Oh, I see his tail. I see his freaking tail. Okay, I'm being really freaking careful here. A squirrel's bite can be 7,000 pounds per square inch. Yep, in contrast, a human's bite is only around 500 pounds per square inch. Quite the contrast, and it would definitely hurt. This explains my fear here. Oh, beautiful. That's beautiful. Let's try. Show it in the sunlight. Classic headshot. Very nice. There we go. Oh, this should be fine to jump. Well, I'll just ease my way down. There we go. Nicely done. With that squirrel successfully in the bag, let's get to skinning, then I'll show you how to preserve the hide. That was my favorite knife. Very, very sharp. You're gonna save the fur like I am. You wanna cut into that tail, but you don't want to cut all the way through. You're just cutting a nice little thin slit. Once you get that cut going, be sure to remove the squirrel's back paws and front paws. You don't want to just tug on the tail only, you also want to be holding the flap too. Just provides a great handle. There, go. And you want to get underneath that belly and put your thumb underneath there. That way you can cut out, see? Just like that. Take a scissors or a knife, it's optional. Just cut like that, and that would be that. But I do want to save the hide, so I'm going to be extra careful near this part, because right around here the hide tends to rip easily. Just gotta pull a little more. There we go, just like that, and you just pull. There. So this part you want to be careful. You can pull, but as soon as you start feeling resistance, that's when you want to be careful. Once you get to the ear line, be sure to assist the hide with it coming off. This is to ensure you get a squirrel pelt with ears intact. If you do find it getting stuck, you can give it a hand, but careful not to cut through the hide. You just want to cut through the part that's holding the hide on. This part's crucial. Take your time here. See the eye there. Don't rush. Be careful not to cut yourself too. There we go. Just like that, and your squirrel hide is obviously going to be inside out because you've just been peeling it back essentially. So there's your squirrel snout, whiskers and all. Here's an ear. Here's both the ears, there's the face. Nicely done. Now, I'm going to put the squirrel meat aside. We'll deal with that later. Now on to the tail. Be careful here, this part's tricky. There but it does become easier just the more you do going up where the squirrel tail meat used to be. Going up that cavity and cutting ever so slightly. There we go. That's how it looks all the way down the tail. Now we got to do that for the rest of the body. And you see the mouth there? You just stick the other end of the scissors out and cut. So go into the arms. There we go. That's going to be our squirrel pelt. Tail and all. Head and all, but I'm probably going to rinse it out. Don't want this blood on the hide or on the head. This is a drying board. You can make this easily with a piece of plywood, whichever it may be. Maybe it's a piece of an old shelf. I think it can even be cardboard. So here we got our squirrel hide. I washed it off a bit because it was bloody, and we don't want that on the finished product. I'm going to be using nails for this project. Instead of nails, if you're going to use like cardboard, you can use push pins. You can even use push pins with the plywood. But nails is all I got, so I'm going to be nailing this to the board. If you are using nails, make sure not to tack them in too far, as you'll need to remove them later on. So we got our squirrel hide stretched up. We got the next ingredient to the preservation. We got salt. Now I've heard a lot of people who claim to say or know you have to only use non-iodized salt. I found this to be not true. Whenever they do say this, they never give a reason why. They just say You can't, it has to be non-iodized salt. I found that to not be true. You can use table salt, you can use pickling salt, whichever you may have on hand, and it does the job just fine. Now, you may be asking, why the heck do you need salt? Salt takes the moisture out of the hide, which prevents it from rotting. You know, the bacteria love moisture. So you take that away, and it cannot rot. There's a step you have to do before that, and that's to remove these fatty deposits. Because these harbor moisture long after, even if you dry it, tend to hold moisture, and they just don't look that good. You just want to gently scrape. You're not like going down, you're kind of just scraping the surface. And just gently guide your knife and take them off. Just like that. Run your knife through it, get it off the hide. Get that off. Almost there. There we go. Alright, for the next part of the squirrel preserving process, now we got off the fat. We want the table salt. And just sprinkle that on. Get a nice good layer. That should be good. And just in a few more areas. There we go. Once your squirrel hide is fully salted, be sure to store it somewhere dry and leave it for about a week. Alright guys, well, it's been over a week now. Well, it's actually been 2 weeks. You don't have to wait that long. I found that even just for salting the squirrel pelt for even just a couple of days seems to do the job just fine. But I left mine on there for 2 weeks. Obviously, you don't have to leave it on there for that long. I just left it on there. Kind of forgot about it. So now we're going to be taking it off. Okay, now that you got your squirrel pelt, before you take out the nails, you just want to dump the salt. And off the squirrel pelt. Well, that's about roughly all the salt off. Now you just want to take out the nails. Of course, feel free to store the nails, as they can be used again and again. Over here. And basically what I like to do is I just scrape it along. You don't want to pull too hard. You just want to, just enough to get this basic layer off. There we go. Alrighty folks, there you have it. If you do this right, your squirrel pelt will even outlive you. This squirrel pelt is going to last years. It's a little bit of a lengthy process. Some would argue that it's not worth it for the amount of fur that you do get from a squirrel. I, however, like to think that if you're going to kill an animal, you should give it the respect of utilizing it as much as possible. Alright, thank you for watching. That has been another Squirrel Commander adventure. There you have it. A simple yet very effective way to preserve squirrel hide. This method has been used by me for nearly 5 years, and by many squirrel hunters before me for decades. So go on out there and get yourself some squirrels and try this out.